And one of the more popular cultural things is a jazz funeral. Now, how many of you have ever heard of a jazz funeral? Yeah. See, it's popular, like I said, that's, yeah. All right, anyway, I was trying to be funny, and sometimes when it's not really that funny, I can say I was trying to be funny, and I'll get a laugh. So thank you very much. Now, in order to have a successful, top-of-the-line jazz funeral, you need a deceased. But once you get past that deceased part, no volunteers, please. Once you get past that deceased part, you need plenty of spectators like yourselves. A brass band about 3 times the size of this one, and a bereaved family. Now, the jazz funeral officially begins when the band captain sees the casket coming out of the church or funeral home or wherever the services are being held. When he sees this, he signals the band to play what is called a dirge. Translation of a dirge, a slow, tear-jerking song. And it's always, always a spiritual. For this, we're going to do a tune entitled Just a Closer Walk with Thee. Now, this is what it looks like in the middle of the street. You have the funeral director's car, the band, the hearse, the family cars, and spectators all around. And so the spectators that are all around, they're gathered and they're quiet. They're muddling a little bit, but they're very respectful because there's a service going on in the middle, in the building. And, chilling, and everything's quiet until the doors open to that building. Once the doors open, then the band starts to play this dirge, this slow, tear-jerking spiritual. And they'll play that song well into the pallbearers bringing the casket out and loading it into the hearse. Now, once the doors close to that hearse and people get in their respective places, then the band starts to do a march, a slow, somber march from side to side. And it looks like this. Thanks, fellas. Now, this is called the first line. And the first line is for the bereaved family to express their grief at the loss of their loved one. Now, this goes on for about 5 or 6 blocks, depending, of course, on the popularity of the deceased. You see, if the deceased was a very popular person, then more spectators will turn out, and so the band will elongate the procession just a little bit so everybody get an eye and an earful. But however long that procession is, there's a point of separation. It's in the middle of the street. And what happens at that point is the band splits into 2, half on one side of the street, half on the other side of the street, forming sort of a gateway for the hearse and the rest of the family cars to pass through. Once the last family car passes the trumpet player, he gives off a call like this. Hey! And that's what the spectators do. And ladies and gentlemen, you are the spectators. Everybody got the lyrics? All right, let's try it right quick. Hey! Now, I must admit, the hands going up in the air was awesome. But the hey, it wasn't all that. And I'm going to tell you why it wasn't all that. It wasn't all that because that hey signifies that the time for bereavement is over. And it's now time for you to rejoice because that loved one has gone on to a better place or a warmer place, depending on what kind of person they were. So when you hear that call, you can't just say, hey. When you hear that call, you got to say, hey! Because with that call, you're waking the dead. You're changing the mood from sad to happy. You're changing the situation from respectful to let's partay. So with that in mind, can we try it again, please? Hey! Oh, I love y'all. That was absolutely awesome. Thank you. That was grand. Now, with that, the hearse, the family card, and the funeral directors, they go off in a different direction, off to the cemetery. And what's left in the middle of the street is the band and the spectators. And then begins a very popular song. It's not always the same song, but we're going to do the Joe Avery Blues. It begins the second line, and that's when you see people dancing in the streets with umbrellas and handkerchiefs, having a good time. But before we dance and party in the streets, we have to pay our respects to the deceased. And we do that with the first line. And in this case, it's entitled Just a Closer Walk with Thee. So here we go.